India we are having, right? So I'll just put my PowerPoint presentation. I hope everyone can see this.
Yes.
Yes, yes, we can.
Yeah. So before going to the consumer litigation, I would like to tell that yeah, India is a growing country and multiple airlines, international airlines are working in India and they are running multiple destinations in India. And yes, there will be a big future for aviation industry in India as multiple new airports are coming in India and a lot of new destinations are to be covered by the international airlines. And yes, there will be a lot of competition among all the international airlines as well as in the domestic sector. So yes, to satisfy all the consumers and the clients, it is practically impossible for any airline to satisfy them by offering the best services and in a competitive price. Okay, so I'll just move on with my first slide. So today's session objective is to understand about the consumer litigation process in India, how the consumer litigation works, if there is a dispute between the consumer and the airline, how it comes in the legal process, and I'll also explain how once any consumer complaint is courts are issuing summons and what are the timelines and the statutory requirements which is required to be completed and complied by the airline after receipt of any summons issued by the Honorable Commission in India. And I'll also explain the stages of a trial before a consumer commission once any consumer complaint is filed by the consumer before any commission in India. After that, I'll also give more idea about how corporate team and how all the station managers we can work together and we can calibrate and we can give best of ours to get those complaint dismissed and put our point forth with before the commission to justify that there is no deficiency of service and the airline has done as per the terms and conditions of the ticket or the contract. And what are the consumers or what are the disputes which come across when customer takes the services of any international airline. I'll come to the next slide then. So before moving forward, I'll just give you a brief introduction about the India and its demography. There is a huge population of more than 1.5 billion, which is having an independent judiciary with a democratic republic system. And all the rights of a consumer are protected by a legal system under the Consumer Protection Act. And the purpose of framing such act was to safeguard the interest and the rights of a consumer with respect to goods and the services, and so that they can utilize their legal rights against the any of the companies. So right now there are around 685 district consumer commissions in India, and it's a huge number seeing there are more than 28 states in India, and there will be a multiple litigations pending across India. And out of them, few commissions are working online as of now, though there is a process and a future wherein the honorable courts and there is a plan that they will do every commission on online so that every company, every customer, everyone can join or handle their cases without having any physical presence. That's very important that there is a huge pendency of consumer cases in India just because of the Indian government is promoting the consumers to exercise their legal rights and they can file any cases in court as and when their any legal rights are hampered, whether it is respect to the goods or the services offered by any company. So even Indian government, they are advertising and giving a lot of information and awareness to the consumers to exercise their legal rights by different kinds of media, whether it may be a social media or a newspaper medium or any social medium, so that they can take appropriate action if their rights are hampered by any of the companies. So I'll come to the next slide. This is about the Indian judicial structure, how Indian judicial system works. The apex court is the Supreme Court of India, and then we have around 26 to 30 high courts in India at the state level. And after that, we have the district courts, that is the trial court, which relates to a civil suit or a civil litigation or a criminal litigation. However, there are specific tribunals and consumer courts are formed by the honorable government, so that there will be a quick disposal of the consumer cases. However, because of the population and the pendency of the litigation, the courts are not achieving the purpose of creating the dedicated consumer commissions. So I'll come to my next slide, which is the hierarchy of the consumer commissions. So if we have a case of around 50 lakhs of Indian rupees, then the case will go in the district consumer commission. And when there is a case between a 50 lakhs to 2 crore rupees, which includes the goods and the services, the cost, the compensation, the mental agony, and everything, whatever the consumer is claiming, he can file a case before the state commission. And the paramount, the top commission is the National Commission, who looks after the fresh complaint above 2 crores. And they also look about the appeals, which is challenged against the order of a district consumer commission or state consumer commission. So generally, any airline in India, they will face or they may get summons only from the district consumer commission, where the dispute will be less than 50 lakh rupees against the company. I'll come to my next slide. This is the major and commercial jurisdictions in India where cases are filed in India. One is New Delhi, where most of the international airlines are operating and have stations in India. And then we have Mumbai, we have Hyderabad, we have Bangalore, we have Chennai, we have Kolkata. Apart from that, we do have Amritsar and Ernakulam in Kochi. So these are the major stations where international airlines is operating, including Malaysian Airlines. So I'll come to my next slide, which relates to a consumer litigation process, how a consumer complaint is filed. So generally, if any consumer is aggrieved by the goods or the services, or he is facing some consumer issue, then he may file a prefer a complaint before the consumer commission in India. And he can go and approach to any of the commission, which is around 678 commissions. It's open to him. There is an open jurisdiction in favor of the complainant or the customer. He can go and approach any of the commission for filing a consumer complaint. So once the consumer complaint is filed, if the court is satisfied, the commission is satisfied that there is a deficiency of services in the said case, then the consumer commission, the president, he will issue a notice to the other party. So generally, in cases of an airline, the other party, opposite party, will be the airline, as well as the intermediary, maybe a an online forum or the online platform from which a customer has booked his ticket, because his grievances may be against international airline or as well as with both of them. So once any complaint is admitted, and after that, the opposite party will receive a summon from the honorable commission, and there will be a deadline of 45 days in filing a reply to that complaint. So there is a specific procedure. If any opposite party receives any summon from any court in India, we are bound to file or give our representation within 45 days from the date of service of summons. In case we don't file any reply within 45 days from the date of service of summons, then we are proceeded ex parte, and court is at on its discretion may pass an order against the opposite party without considering any reply or representation of the opposite party. It means they can pass any ex parte order against the opposite party. In that case, if any order is passed, the company, the opposite party.
Yeah.
May I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So, in case any opposite party is aggrieved by the order passed by any of the district consumer commission, then definitely the opposite party can prefer an appeal in the higher commission to check the case should be decided on merits instead of on any technical grounds. So once any replies for filed within 45 days after receipt of summons, thereafter both the parties have to lead evidence by way of affidavit, wherein they have to give an affidavit on oath that whatever they are stating before the commission is true and correct and nothing has been concealed therefrom, and the commission may decide the case on merits of the case. Once evidence affidavit filed, we have to file a written arguments. That's the short synopsis and the gist and the defense and the issue, wherein the court will hear arguments and decide or pass an order in favor or against the company, or they may pass an order in favor of the customer or against the company. So I'll just go to my next slide. So this is very important. With respect to a 45 days deadline, this is the general rule wherein we have to file a reply within 45 days. And a specific judgment passed by Supreme Court of India in New India Assurance Company versus Healy Multi-Purpose Cold Storage Private Limited. It was decided by the Honorable Supreme Court that any reply to be filed by the opposite party, it has to be filed within 45 days and not beyond that. And there is no provision to get any condonation of delay allowed by the Honorable seen higher forum in such case if there is a 45 days deadline is crossed. So for us, 45 days deadline is very paramount and we have to adhere by that. Even if we don't adhere 45 days deadline, there is likelihood that we may pass or get an adverse order despite we have a good case on merits. So for 45 days, there is a first statutory period of 30 days. And after that, we need to file an application for extension of 15 days. So total, we can get 45 days time to file our defense before the commission. The purpose of giving a 45 days time is to get a speedy disposal of the cases, seeing the large pendency of the cases in Indian courts. I'll just go on my next slide. So I'll just give you an overview about the consumer cases, which generally comes for an airline industry. First is poor onboarding services, wherein customer faced onboarding issues, or there is a airline has missed his baggage, or there's a issue in his seat or some other issue. So generally an airline company, they may get cases filed against them for the poor onboarding services. Second is lost or delayed baggage. So we have handled many cases for airlines industry wherein there's a loss or delayed delivery of baggage, or the baggage has been delivered to a wrong destination instead of the end destination of the customer. In such case, the customer files a consumer case for compensation, harassment, and the agony he has faced during that period. And generally, in such cases, a customer files a case with an huge compensation, stating that his purpose of visit to a country is defeated because of delayed or non-delivery of baggage on time. And generally, if we do not have any strong defense, there is likelihood that a commission passes an order against the airline in such cases. So next issue will be a flight cancellation without proper assistance. So as we all know that flight cancellation happens airline, and it all depends on the technical issues. There may be a technical glitches and multiple other reasons. So g- customer generally accepts, yes, there is a possibility of flight cancellation, as I told you the reasons. But if the customer is not provided with the proper assistance during such cancellation, or he is not accommodated in an alternative flight, then there is likelihood that the customer will file a consumer complaint against the airline for harassment and alternative airline tickets and many other issues. So next is the meal issue. So generally, as you know, there are a lot of vegetarians who don't eat non-vegetarian in India. So sometimes it happens the customer or his agent, they have not booked or not given a meal preference while booking a ticket, and they creates a issue or ruckus during onboard, and later on they file a files a consumer complaint stating that they were not provided with the right meal to them, and they were offered a wrong meal. In such cases, generally the airline have a good defense to contest such cases, as meal preference was not mentioned by them, or sometimes it happens that the customer has taken a low airline ticket wherein no meal services are provided to them. However, customer was wrongly told by his agents that meals are included in the air ticket, or water will be provided to them in the air ticket. Due to such issues, we see that a lot of customers file a consumer complaints in court to get justice against the airlines. So next is change of terminal or change of gate, or sometimes it happens the customer failed to reach the airport uh, prior to the boarding, 40 minutes or 30 minutes prior to the boarding or closing of the gates, and he misses his flight. And in such case also, he put blames on the airline that it is the fault of the airline. Because of that, he could not take his flight, and he claims money against the airlines by filing a consumer complaint. So next is wrongful offloading or denied boarding. So we have seen a lot of cases where customers have filed consumer cases for wrongful offloading. They are not allowed to board the flight, or they are denied to board the flight. And we are facing and contesting one of the case in India wherein the visa of the customer was crossed by a pen, and Malaysian Airlines have denied boarding to the customer, but later on other airline allowed him a boarding of the flight. Later on, the customer have filed a case against the Malaysian Airlines. Though we have rightly mentioned that it is the Malaysian Airlines discretion as per the terms and conditions of the ticket, and they are not supposed to allow a customer or a passenger with a crossed visa with a pen. So that case is pending before the Honorable Commission in India, and we are waiting for the outcome of the said case. And next case, we do get transit visa issue, as we are offering a lot of transit air services across the world. So a customer while file making an online booking, or his agent is making an online booking, they do not see the exact terms and conditions and visa requirement of the ticket, and they just book the ticket without checking the exact details, and later on they faces a lot of issues. However, to justify or to satisfy them, then they file consumer complaints against the airline, stating that they have not guided us properly, they have not mentioned properly that there is a visa requirement while going to their particular destination, and therefore consumer complaints are filed. Though the outcome of most of the complaints are in favor of the airline, but sometimes the commissions they pass an haste and unlawful or one-sided order in favor of the customer and against the airline company, as they have sympathy with the customers rather than passing any order on merits. Usually we get such orders against the customer. So in that case, we have option either to challenge that orders in appeal, or if we see the cost benefit, then in that case we can settle those disputes amicably rather than preferring or challenging in appeal. So I'll just go to my next slide,
I have no
which
idea,
is
sir.
in respect of execution proceedings in consumer cases.
Information less
So this
in the front.
issue of execution
Front,
comes
turn right
when
at the door
an
number
order is
10.
passed by the
Information less. Yeah.
Consumer Commission against the airline in India, and we have not complied with the order passed by the Consumer Commission. Generally, it happens that the customer has filed a complaint against the airline by mentioning their station address or some address which is not correct, and we were not duly served with the summons issued by the Honorable Commission. And Honorable Commission, they pass us an ex parte order stating that we are duly served with the copy of the complaint. Or sometimes it happens that the summons were duly received by the station in charge or the station office, but somehow it has been missed by the station in charge to forward it to the head office so that appropriate legal action can be taken on those cases. And due to this reason, we when an ex parte order is passed by the commission against the insurance company. So in that case, if any order is passed, the customer will later on file an execution petition for compliance of the order passed by the honorable commission. If an execution is passed by the customer against the company, then the commission will again issue notice to the airline stating that the reason for non-compliance of the order. In that case, the airline can either comply with the order or they can state that they have challenged the order in the appeal. Or they may say that they have not been duly served with the summons, or they have been served summons but somehow they missed to take proper defense or take appropriate legal action in that case. In such scenarios, it all depends how and what is the quantum of the case, and accordingly we can decide what can be our defense or what can be our strategy to resolve the issue. So sometimes it happens the commission passes an order for the attachment of the bank account of the airline in case they do not represent or appear despite any warrant or any notices issued in the execution proceedings, that may be due to non-service or the address is not mentioned correctly, because in India the generally the honorable commission they do not serve any of the opposite party or the airlines on emails. They just prefer a offline service of summons by postal department. So in case there is a non compliance of the order, the commission first try to get the bank account attached, and if that is also not possible, then in such case they may issue warrants, a bailable warrant or non-bailable warrant against the station officers or the other employees of the airline who are representing, who are based in India. So it is important that we should comply with the orders timely, or we should take appropriate steps within timelines, either to settle those cases or to prefer an appeal in such cases, so that the dispute can be resolved, or any compliance it can be adhered in proper time. So I'll just come to my next slide, which is related to the our litigation strategies for the Malaysian airline. So first, most of the times we get a legal notice from the customer, or we get an email for dissatisfaction of the services from a customer. I propose that at that time only we should try to settle or solve or resolve the disputes of the customer. If there is a admitted position that there is a deficiency of services on behalf of the airline, then in that case, either we can negotiate, we can mediate, and we can offer some alternative services to the customer, or some open tickets or some other vouchers, something like that, so that issues can be resolved. But in that case, if any such settlement is done, then we should get in some written undertaking must be taken before getting some cases settled in mediation or out of the court. That is the best approach in order to save the litigation cost, to save time, eh, and to save energy for going for a long, lengthy litigation with a high cost involved in taking defense in such cases. Apart from that, if the court or the customer have filed any case before the Honorable Commission, and we see that there is a deficiency of service, and we can directly negotiate with the customer or his counsel, or we may refer the case to the mediation cell, which is also already working in all such commissions, so that disputes can be resolved amicably out of the court in a short span of time, rather than going for the merits of the case. So this is very important that there should be coordination between the legal department and the claims department, so that we can assess and decide the cost involved in taking defense or contesting those cases which is filed or may be filed by the customers in the airline. So it is very important to maintain all information, evidence, any recording, video recording, which is in digital form, or any other thing, or any investigation report, or whatever the communication which has been exchanged or taken place with the customers, to provide or state our defense before the Honorable Commission, to justify our defense, uh, reason why we are not going to pay any money to the customer, and whatever the claims he is demanding are not up to the mark, and not a criteria for deficiency of service. For that, we can file a detailed evidence affidavit through authorized officers who are available in India. We can also summon any third party company or any third party department to prove our case. For that, the honorable commissions are well equipped, and they support to pass any order on merits rather than passing an order on technical grounds. So, as I told you, that we should always evaluate settlement opportunities to reduce litigation exposure by different ways. Either company can directly discuss and resolve the issues with the customer, or company may involve their attorneys to directly talk to the customer and get those cases settled, or the companies may get the cases referred to a mediation cell, so that the disputes can be resolved. I will just come to my next slide. This over. So my slides are over. May I have any questions?
Do you have any question from the floor? If not, a short question from me, Anurag.
Yeah.
Because we have the 45 days period, right? And normally, as you mentioned earlier, the service of the documents is through physical copy, not via email. So sometimes we have miscommunication there where we receive the documents after the expiry of the 45 days. So what are the avenue that we can choose, or maybe if we can maybe if we can request for extension of time, what is the period that normally commission will consider?
So Supreme Court is very clear on this aspect that after 45 days, the opposite party will not get any time to present their defense. So in that case, if we have a strong defense on merits, then either we can challenge that ex parte order in higher commission and get the case remanded back so that the case can be decided by the District Consumer Commission on merits rather than passing an ex parte order. Or we can explore and we can
Yeah,
check if we can negotiate or settle the case with the customer, or else we can directly argue the matter without presenting our document, because since we are proceeded ex parte, there is likelihood that the commission they will not entertain or read any of our document presented before the commission. So in that case, we can directly argue the matter and we can point the deficiency or the problem or the mistake in the documents or in the complaint of the customer itself rather than fighting the case on our defense. So it all depends how we can fight and contest that such kind of cases.
Okay, all right. I think thank you. That is crystal clear from my question. Do we have any more question from the floor? Um, I think if we don't have any more question, if you do have further question on this specific Indian litigation perspective, maybe we can arrange this offline with you, Mr. Anurag. But
Sure.
I think we can just conclude our session today. And we are very thankful for you, Mr. Anurag,
Yeah.
for this sharing session. It's very informative for us.
Yeah.
And to the participants, we hope that today's session will provide practical insights in how this legal framework apply in real operational scenarios, and how we can better manage passenger claims while ensuring compliance with relevant regulations. I think this concludes our session today, Mr. Anurag, and also to all participants. If you don't have any further question, to those who are fasting, I'm wishing selamat berbuka. And thank you all. Maybe we can just reach out to Mr. Anurag separately or offline. Thank you everyone for joining our session today, and this concludes our session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone, take care. Selamat
Yeah.
puasa to
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, noted. Bye-bye.